Department of Labor and Employment, Bureau of Local Employment, and Ms. Analyn Cauinian, Visa Manager, and Mr. Lorenzo Miguel Timan, Visa Services Assistant Manager of Kittelson and Carpo Consulting, Inc. I would like to thank our partners for this event, the British Chamber of Commerce, Dutch Chamber of Commerce, European Chamber of Commerce, French Chamber of Commerce, German Philippine Chamber of Commerce, and the Philippine Swiss Business Council. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. Please keep your microphones and videos off while the presentations are going on, and please make sure you are using your complete names while on the webinar for proper identification. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the chat box and our speakers will answer them later on during the Q&A. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Rosalinda P. Pineda. Ms. Pineda has a Juris Doctor degree obtained from San Sebastian College, Recoletos, Manila. With 15 years of experience in the public service, she is currently the Division Chief of the Employment Service Policy and Regulations Division of DOLE, Bureau of Local Employment, that handles private employment agency regulations, assistance to first-time job seekers, free trade agreements, legislative matters related to employment, and the alien employment regulation. As a policy manager, she led the amendment of the Alien Employment Permit Guidelines, or the DOLE Department Order Number 221 Series of 2021, which was issued early this year, and all other related issuances concerning the employment of foreign nationals in the Philippines. I now turn it over to Ms. Pineda.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maan. Good afternoon, everyone. And to all the members of the Nordic Chamber of Commerce present today, I wish to extend my sincerest gratitude for inviting us today for this forum, for us to be able to discuss to you some of the important features or the important matters regarding employment of foreign nationals. Next slide, please. The first question for a foreign national if he wants to work in the country is he allowed or is she allowed to work in the Philippines? The answer is yes. There are actually two tracks wherein a foreign national may work in the country. It could be either long-term or short-term. Next slide, please. Under Article 40 of the Labor Code, it provides that any alien seeking admission to the Philippines for employment purposes and any domestic or foreign enterprises who desires to engage an alien for employment in the Philippines shall obtain an employment permit from the Department of Labor. And an employment permit may be issued to a non-resident after the determination of the non-availability of a person in the Philippines who is competent, able, and willing to perform the services for which the alien is desired. Actually, this is called the labor market test. And I will be discussing to you in a bit later regarding how we conduct the labor market test. For the long-term work arrangement, we actually have conditions to follow. For more than 6 months, and for foreign workers who will come to the Philippines by virtue of an employment arrangement with a Philippine-based company, here are the actions that they have to do. They have to apply for an alien employment permit or an AEP, a certificate of exemption or exclusion with the Department of Labor and Employment. And they should have an appropriate visa they should apply for the appropriate visa with the Bureau of Immigration or other visa issuing agencies. Next slide, please. And for the short-term work arrangement, it can be less than 6 months or should not be more than 6 months. The foreign nationals who will come to the Philippines on a temporary basis for work, perform specific activities, or render services, whether in the context of an employment arrangement or otherwise. And there are 14 specific activities already enumerated in the DOLE BOJ-BI-BIR joint guidelines that was issued in 2019. So the foreign nationals should apply for a special work permit with the Bureau of Immigration, or they can also apply for an alien employment permit with the Department of Labor and Employment, because there are some specific categories that they could apply for an alien employment permit even if it's not more than 6 months or less than 6 months. Next slide, please. What are the issuances on the employment of foreign nationals? So first, we have the DOLE DOJ BI BIR Joint Guidelines number 01 series of 2019. Actually, this guidelines was signed in May of 2019, and it was published on July 1st of 2019 also, and it took effect on the 16th of July 2019, or 15 days after its publication in a newspaper of general circulation. Next slide. So these are the salient features of the DOLE DOJ BI and BI Joint Guidelines, or JG. First, the special work permit that was previously issued by the Bureau of Immigration is only limited after the issuance of that particular joint guidelines to only 14 specific activities or services, and those are actually outside an employment arrangement. It will be valid for 6 months, non-renewable. Initially, it is issued by in 3 months' time, and final 3 months when applied. Next, the special temporary permit by the PRC for the practice of regulated profession. Next one is the taxpayer identification number requirement for AEP and SWT applications. Previously, the taxpayer identification number or TIN is not a requirement for AEP, but because of the joint guidelines, it was already required for those who would apply for AEP and SWT as well. One of the salient features of the joint guidelines is the provisional work permit that is issued by the Bureau of Immigration. This is actually issued pending the approval of AEP and or the 9G work visa pursuant to an employment arrangement. Next slide, please. Next, we have also an interagency issuance, which is the DOLE, BFA, DOJ, DENR, BI, BIR, NICA, PRC Joint Memorandum Circular Series 001 Series of 2019. This is actually the rules and procedures governing foreign nationals intending to work in the Philippines, and this already contains all the visas and the permits being issued by different government agencies, apart from the first 4 that was mentioned in the joint guidelines. It was signed in July 11th of 2019 and published on the 17th of October 2019 and took effect on the 2nd of November 2019. The salient features of the joint memorandum circular is that it provides 2 options in securing 9G work visa, which is already applicable in this pandemic situation. The DOLE issuance of certificate of no objection, and then we have the creation of a joint inspection team by DOLE, BI, and BIR. There is also the submission of monthly reports by those by the permit and visa issuing agencies to the DOLE, to the Department of Labor and Employment, which we eventually submit to the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, or agency, yes. And then lastly, we have the development of an interagency database system. Next slide, please. For the joint memorandum circular, since I have already mentioned in the slide earlier that there are 2 options provided wherein a foreign national may secure an IG visa. Option 1 is when the foreign national is already in the country. So this is actually how it goes. The foreign national arrives in the Philippines with a 9A visa, and then foreign national enters into a contract with a Philippines-based employer, and then the employer secures an authority to employ alien from the DOJ or authority to hire foreign national from AHFN from the DNR. And then a foreign national would also get a special temporary permit whenever applicable from the Philippine Regulations Commission. And then they would apply for an alien employment permit. The AEP could be applied by either the employer or the foreign national, or the foreign national through his or her employer. And then After the issuance of the AEP, the foreign national applies for a 9-day visa. Just let me give you some an important note on this one. Whenever an AEP is already issued, it doesn't necessarily mean that the foreign national can already work. There has to be a 9-day visa issued before he could actually work. And then the PWP that was mentioned in the joint memorandum circular earlier that is actually the bridging permit wherein they are already allowed to work by virtue of the PWP or pending the approval of the 9-day visa. Next slide, please. And then for option 2, for foreign nationals still outside the country, the employer would execute a contract with the foreign national and then applies all the necessary permit, just like in option 1, the AEA or the Alien Employment Authority to Employ Alien, and then authority to hire the foreign national if and when applicable, and then the AEP and STP in behalf of the foreign national. And then employer applies for a 9-day visa in behalf of the foreign national. And once approved, if the 9-day visa has already been approved, the employer advises the foreign national to get the 9-day visa at the Philippine Consulate General's office in their country of origin. Next. These are the applicable permits, visas, authorities on the employment of foreign nationals. As I mentioned earlier, the Professional Regulation Commission issues the STP or Special Temporary Permit. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources through the Mines and Geosciences Bureau issues the authority to hire foreign nationals or foreign national. And then we have the Department of Justice that issues special non-immigrant visa or 47A2 visa, and also the Authority to Employ Alien or AEA. The Department of Foreign Affairs also issues a special non-immigrant visa or 47A2. And they also issue pre-arranged employment visa or 9-day visa, and this is actually issued at the post or the Philippine Consulate General's office. The Bureau of Immigration issues the special work permit, and then the provisional work permit, and most importantly, the pre-arranged employment visa or 9-day visa. And then the Department of Labor and Employment issues the Alien Employment Permit or the AEP. We also issue Certificate of Exclusion and the Certificate of Exemption. Next slide, please. So the next question will be, how do I get an alien employment permit in the Philippines? So the alien employment permit, the certificate of exclusion, and the certificate of exemption are actually applied in the regional offices of the Department of Labor and Employment concerned. So it's actually jurisdictional. Wherever the foreign national will be assigned, the employer or the foreign national should apply for the AEP or the 2 other certificates in the regional office wherein the foreign national intends to work. Next slide, please. Okay, just recently, or Department Order Number 221 Series of 2021 actually amended DO 186 Series of 2017, and it was signed by the Secretary on January 6th of 2021, and it was published on the 20th of April, and it took effect on May 6th of 2021. So this is actually the process flow wherein the process flow that we follow in the application of the new AEP or renewal of AEP, the application for certificate of exclusion, and the application for certificate of exemption. First one for the AEP, before the foreign national or the employer would file their application, there has to be, or the employer should publish the job vacancy in the company at least 15 calendar days prior to the application for AEP. Okay, and then the job vacancy being applied for by the foreign national should be published in a newspaper of general circulation there are particular details or important details of the position, like the position, the name of the company that should be in the post in the posting of the job vacancy. We do not require a specific size of the publication as long as it is readable by the readers. Next slide, please. Okay, these are actually the steps in the application for new AEP. Number one, employer posts job vacancy in a newspaper of general circulation 15 days before the application. And then the employer or the foreign national submits the application and documentary requirements to the DOLE regional office concerned. And then the DOLE regional office receives and conducts preliminary evaluations within 2 working days. But we should take note that the DOLE regional office would only receive and accept the application if and when all the documentary requirements are complete. Because we do follow a process cycle time in the processing of AEP. And then step 4, the DOLE regional office will publish the AEP application. And that's how actually we conduct the labor market test. And then step 5, they will process, evaluate, and of course, verify if and when applicable. Verification sometimes, if there is a doubt on the part of the regional office, let's say, for example, they are not sure that their company actually exists, or the foreign national is not is applying for a position that is not existing at the company. So there would be a verification to be conducted by the DOLE regional office. And then if and when there's no issue, there's no problem with the application, it would be approved and an AEP would be issued. AEP card would be issued within 5 working days after the conduct of the labor market test or the publication. And if and when there are some issues or there are concerns that would merit the disapproval, a letter of denial or order of denial will be issued to the party concerned. Next slide, please, or the applicant, rather. For the renewal of AEP, the employer or foreign national would submit the application and the documentary requirements for renewal. Of course, the old AEP card would be surrendered, or not actually the main card, but a photocopy of the card would be submitted for as part of the documentary requirements. And then the DOLE regional office receives and evaluates the application within 2 working days. And then they would process the application, approve it or deny it, whichever the case may be. And then they would issue the AEP card within 3 working days if approved. And if denied, they would issue an order of denial. Requirements for application of AEP or renewal. Of course, they have to submit the application, which is duly accomplished. And then the proof of publication shall be attached also with the application form. The expiring AEP card for renewal or a photocopy of the expiring AEP card for renewal. The photocopy of the passport's bio page with valid and appropriate visa. And then the taxpayer identification number or TIN. The appointment or contract of employment. The business or mayor's permit, or if they are inside the eco zone or economic zones, they would submit certificate of registration. Next slide, please. For construction companies, one of the requirements also is the Philippine Construction Accreditation Board license or PCAB license. A certificate of registration for contracting and subcontracting arrangements as well. For sole proprietorship, the certificate of business name registration, together with the application form duly received by the DTI or the Department of Trade and Industry. For corporations, they have to submit certificate of registration, their articles of incorporation and bylaws, and the general information sheet, which should be updated. For online gaming companies, we also require the license or certificate of accreditation or appointment. from PAGCOR or appropriate authorities. When we say appropriate authorities, there are some ecozones that also allow online gaming in their particular zones. So if and when they are inside the ecozone, they would or they should submit accreditation. I think it's accreditation and appointment issued by the ecozone authority. Next slide, please. Okay. Other applicable and relevant permits or authorities, as I've mentioned in the previous slides, STP is issued by PRC for practice of regulated profession. And then authority to employ alien is issued by the DOJ when the employer is covered by the anti-dumping law. And the authority to hire foreign national issued by the DANR is being applied for and issued by to an employer engaged in mining. For the applicable fees, our fee for 1 year validity is 10,000. And then for every additional year or a fraction thereof would cost 5,000. And the publication fee, if applicable, would be 4,000. For the renewal, actually, we do not require a publication fee because for renewal, we do not conduct labor market test anymore. And then for the card replacement, due to loss, amendment, or additional position, a fee of 3,000 shall be paid or shall cost the foreign national. And then for the certificate of exclusion or exemption, a fee of 2,000 pesos shall be paid by the applicant. Next slide, please. Here are some important notes that I have to please tell everyone. So as I've mentioned earlier, proof of publication of the job vacancy in a newspaper of general circulation should be accompanied by a duly notarized affidavit stating no applications were received, or even if there are actually applications received, no Filipino applicant was considered for the position. And then publication of vacancy for appointive or elective position is not required. So even if the foreign national's position, the foreign national would file for a new application, there are some instances that the labor market test will not be conducted. And these are actually for appointive or elective positions. And how do we know if it's appointive or elected position? The foreign national or the employer should submit a duly certified board resolution through the board secretary or its equivalent. And if and when it is indicated in the company's articles of incorporation and GIS, they should just provide a copy of, they should just indicate that is actually indicated, that is actually contained in the company's articles of incorporation and GIS. Next slide, please. Okay. Foreign nationals previously issued with taxpayer identification number are not required to apply for a new one, even if the TIN was issued for a different purpose, that is, let's say, for purchase of real property. And then official receipt as proof of application for authorities and permits are conditionally accepted for processing of AEP applications. The original or certified true copy, however, should be submitted upon issuance. Because it takes a lot, it takes, I guess, some 3 to 4 or to 6 months before the DOJ issues the authority to employ alien. That's why for us to be able to issue the AEP on time, we accept the proof of payment conditionally. Next slide, please. For the application for certificate of exclusion, here are the steps. The company or the foreign national submits application for the certificate of exclusion. The DOLE regional office accepts and evaluates the application. The process and conducts verification, if applicable, for disapproval or approval. And then if no problems or no issues, the DOLE regional office issues the certificate of exemption or order exemption. I guess it's exclusion. And then order of denial within 3 working days from receipt of application. So all in all, when the DOLE regional office receives the documents completely, then they would issue the certificate of exclusion. And then these are actually the basic requirements. A letter addressed to the DOLE regional director concerned, And then the business or mayor's permit or certificate of registration from the Ecozone Authority. And then the photocopy of passports bio page with valid visa. Additional requirements for the certain categories of foreign national are also had to be submitted also. The GIS or General Information Sheet indicating the position and the name of the foreign national and the secretary's certificate. For intracorporate transferees, the foreign national or the sponsoring company should submit the contract, or certificate of employment from the origin company or the mother company and the duly notarized secondment agreement. For CSS or contractual service supplier, they have to submit authenticated service contract of employment from the origin or mother company, and then a service contract agreement between the Philippines-based company and the foreign company. Next slide. For categories of foreign nationals who are representatives of accredited or registered foreign principal or employers in licensed recruitment or manning agency, next slide, please. In the application for certificate of exemption, we also have 4 steps. And then first one would be company or foreign national submits application and documentary requirements for certificate of exemption. The DOLE regional office accepts and evaluates the application. And then they will process and conduct verification if and when applicable. And then this approves or disapproves. And after approval or disapproval, a certificate of exemption or order of denial would be issued within 3 working days from the receipt of application. Next slide, please. Who are the foreign nationals exempted from AEP? DO 221-21 actually have additional categories of foreign nationals that we have exempted from AEP. Number 1, we have the dependent spouse of any member of the diplomatic corps. And then we have the accredited officials and personnel of international organizations and their dependent spouse. And number 3, we have the officers, staff, and personnel working in embassies. And then number 4, we have the officers and staff of peacekeeping or international organizations. Next slide, please. Also, foreign nationals who come to the Philippines to teach, present, and or conduct research studies in universities and colleges as visiting, exchange, or adjunct professors are not required or exempted from securing an AEP. Similarly, permanent resident foreign nationals and probationary or temporary visa holders are also exempted. And refugees and stateless persons are also not required to secure an AEP, and all other foreign nationals granted exemption by law. Next slide. Here are the requirements for securing a certificate of exemption. We have the basic requirements like letter, number 1 is the letter addressed to the DOLE regional director. And then, of course, the photocopy of the passport bio page, except for stateless person. And then the photocopy of valid visa and the corresponding alien certificate of registration I-card if and when applicable. Next slide. For important notes or things to remember, certificate of exclusion shall be valid from the date of issuance until the end date of the contract, appointment, or election, while certificate of exemption shall be valid from the date of issuance to the end date of deployment. The AEP certificate of exemption or exclusion may be claimed or sent via courier service providers on the account of the applicants. Because of the pandemic, we already allow that courier service provided be used by either our regional offices or our clients in claiming their AEP, Certificate of Exemption or Exclusion. Now, next slide. On travel ban exemption request and endorsement, all we need is the letter request addressed to the Secretary of the Department of Labor and Employment, but it should contain the reason for coming into the country and reason and the purpose for coming into the country, and should be less than 6 months. The copy of valid passport or valid page, last 2 pages with the travel stamp, and the next blank page, the company details and SEC registration. All those who would apply for an AEP, a certificate of exclusion or exemption, or who would be here for more than 6 months, who would apply for an AEP are not required anymore to request from the department travel ban endorsement to the DFA, because they are already allowed to apply for a 9G visa even if they are not in the country. Next slide. Okay, these are actually the updates on travel ban exemption endorsement. IATF resolution number 131A series of 2021 dated 05 August 2021. And then the Foreign Service Circular number 2021-011. The Bureau of Immigration Operations Order number JHM 2021-004. This actually provides the steps and the procedure in applying for a 9G visa when the foreign national is not in the country. And then we have the Department of Justice guidelines pursuant to IATF resolution number 131-A. On the part of the Department of Labor and Employment, we have already issued, and it was actually signed just today by the Secretary, Labor Advisory number 16. This is actually issued wherein the Philippines-based employer may already apply for an AEP on behalf of foreign national and who intends to come here for long-term employment. And the requirement for a valid visa is currently relaxed based on the Labor Advisory and shall be complied with within 30 working days upon arrival and completion of the quarantine protocols. So even if the DO 221 so provides that a valid visa is required in the application of AEP, now we have relaxed that particular provision for the foreign nationals who would be working for companies in the country to be able to apply for AEP and their 9G visa. And I guess that will be the last part of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. And thanks everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Pineda. And we hope you will stay on until the Q&A portion, as there's a lot of questions for you from the audience submitted through the chat.
No problem.
Thank you. Our next presenters are Analyn Cauinian and Lorenzo Miguel Timan from Kittelson and Carpo Consulting, Inc. Analyn is the Visa Services Manager of Kittelson and Carpo Consulting. She has over 12 years of experience in assisting foreign nationals on their visa applications and immigration-related engagements with the Bureau of Immigration, Department of Labor and Employment, and other government agencies that regulate the entry and duration of stay of foreigners in the Philippines. She supervises a growing team of visa specialists and consultants in helping foreigners identify and acquire the proper type of visa they need to legally enter or stay in the Philippines. Her years of experience have equipped her with a wealth of knowledge in securing compliance with immigration requirements, identifying possible red flags, and developing contingency plans to ensure completion of visa application. She has handled volume engagements for both multinational companies and small and medium enterprises in multiple industries, with a special focus on the industries of information technology, business process outsourcing, online gaming, construction and engineering, manufacturing, and healthcare. Joining Analyn is Lorenzo Miguel Timan, Visa Services Assistant Manager. Migs has over 4 years experience in assisting foreign nationals and local and multinational companies with various Philippine visa applications, such as the 9G visa, 47A2 visa, 13A visa, and special resident retiree visa, among others. He also has experience working and communicating with various government agencies, such as the Bureau of Immigration, Department of Labor and Employment, Department of Justice, Philippine Retirement Agency, and the Philippine Economic Zone Authority. I now turn it over to Analyn and Vix.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Maan, and thank you for inviting us for today's webinar. Hi, everyone. We are from Kittelson and Carpo Consulting. We will discuss the process, requirements, fees, and timeline of the Naturework visa application of foreigners who is currently in the country and those who are outside the Philippines. First, I would like to discuss what the Naturework visa is. The Naturework visa is also known as the pre-arranged employee commercial visa, the most common type of work visa availed by foreigners who will be engaged in gainful employment in the Philippines, meaning the foreign national must be involved in the day-to-day operations of the company and receives payment from employer to be qualified for a work visa. But not only foreign employees can apply for a work visa, but also the foreign owner of the local company through AEP exclusion. So what are the requirements for the Naturework visa application? First is the joint letter request. It must be signed by the applicant and the petitioner's authorized signatory. For the applicants who are outside the country, you will have to indicate to the letter which Philippine embassy where the order of approval will be forwarded, and specific BI office where you will process the visa implementation and also the data capturing for the ACRI card. Passport copy. For those who are in the country, you need to attach the copy of passport bio page, latest arrival stamp, and valid tourist visa. For those outside the Philippines, copy of passport bio page of the applicant will suffice. Duly accomplished consolidated general application form. It must be signed by the applicant and petitioner's authorized signatory. Notarized employment contract. It must be include the salary, position of the applicant, duration of employment, and job description. You may use the employment contract that you will be using for AEP application. You also need to submit the corporate documents of the company. So complete copy of the SEC registration of the company that includes the articles of incorporation and bylaws, latest income tax return, business permit, and so on, and other required documents. In other required corporate documents. You also required to submit the AEP exclusion or AEP exemption certificate or AEP card. So this is the document that you need to secure from Department of Labor and Employment. Proof of publication, original newspaper clipping of the publication must be attached to the application. So you just have to take note that all documents signed abroad must be apostilled or authenticated. So what are the costs for the Naturework visa application? For 1 year, new application, it is 10,130 pesos plus $50 for the ACRI card. Then for 2 years, it's for the 2 years, it's 17,170 pesos plus $100 for the ACRI card. For 3 years, it's 24,210 pesos plus $150 for the iCard. For the renewal, it's a bit lower compared to the fees for new application. For 1 year, renewal application, it is 7,060 plus $50 for the iCard. And then for 2 years, it's 13,100 plus $100 for the iCard. And for 3 years, it's 19,140 plus $150 for the iCard. Work you can apply in any Bureau of Immigration office. Immigration has BI satellite offices in provinces. So you may process it in any BI office nearest you. So how long is the processing time? It is 20 to 40 working days from submission of complete documentary requirements to the Bureau of Immigration. What is the validity? It is coterminous with the employment contract and AEP card. So if the AEP card is valid for 1 year, then the Naturework visa will also be valid for 1 year. Okay. So what is the process? For applicant who is in the country, you will just have to submit the complete documentary requirements to the Bureau of Immigration Office. If everything is okay and immigration will not ask additional requirement, they will give you an order of payment slip so you can process the payment. Also, they will provide you a date as to when the applicant will be going to the Bureau of Immigration for data capturing. So after this, you will have to wait for the approval to be posted in the official website of the Bureau. If approved, you just need to submit a passport with valid tourist visa and wait for 2 to 3 weeks for the release of the ACRI card. For applicant who is outside the country, this will be the process. So submit the application to the Bureau of Immigration with complete documentary requirements, and then pay the required fees for the application. Then, assuming the application is already approved, the order of approval will be transmitted to the Department of Foreign Affairs via electronic means. Then the DFA will forward the order of approval to the Foreign Service Post where the foreign national is situated. The foreign national will then have to submit the original passport to Foreign Service Post to secure the implementation of the visa. Please note that the entry visa that will be given to the foreign national is valid only for 90 days. This is for entry purposes, for entry purposes only. So once the 90 visa is issued, the foreign national may already enter the country. After the foreign national complete the quarantine period, he has to submit the passport to the Bureau of Immigration to implement the Naturework visa and also to process the data capturing for the iCard. Then after this, wait for the ACRI card to release. So once the ACRI card is secured, the foreign national may now travel in and out of the country during the visa validity while working with the local company. Okay, so this is the end of my slide. Our Assistant Manager, Lorenzo Miguel Timan, will give you an overview of what Kittelson and Carpo does. Hi, Migs.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Analyn. So, Kittelson and Carpo Consulting is part of the InCorp Group, and we provide various services in various countries in the region, such as Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, China, India, Vietnam, Malaysia, and of course the Philippines. On top of immigration services, we also provide company formation, corporate compliance, product registration, tax incentives, recruitment services, HR consulting services, and payroll assistance. So, in case you need those services, feel free to contact us and we'll be able to help. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for listening, and I hope you guys learned something about the 9G visa process, and we're free to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you, Analyn and Migs. So now we go through the Q&A portion of the event. I would like to call on Ms. Meile Charlotte, Managing Director of the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the Philippines, to moderate the Q&A.
Thank you, Maan. Thank you very much. And thank you, dear speakers, for your very insightful presentation. So I'm delighted to meet you, and I received hundreds of questions. So I'm going to go from the more usual case scenarios to the more maybe specific questions, so that it's summarizing everything, all right? Because we are not experts in this very specific topic. So firstly, I think that as a Chamber of Commerce, the cases that we receive most often is a foreigner that is abroad who just got a contract to work in the Philippines and would like to come in the country, right? So in that case, maybe I'll ask first Ms. Pineda. So I believe we have to secure first a 9A visa. This was not so mentioned during this presentation. So maybe you could give us again few guidelines on this. And then could you remind us the few steps between the 9G and then the AEP? especially in regards with the latest legislation that mentioned that we can now have a 9G visa process even if we are abroad. So what does it mean and all that? Thank you. Back to you, Ms. Pineda.
Okay, the difference between the 9A visa and the 9G visa is that you come to the Philippines on a 9A visa because you don't have any intention of working here. And you don't have any intention of, staying here more than 6 months, right? But for the 9G visa, you intend to work in the country of the Philippines-based employer. That's why you will be drawing your salary from here. And only the Department of Labor and Employment would be able to allow you to work in the country. Although AEP is not the only requirement for you to legally stay and work in the country, a 9G visa is actually required also. So before the pandemic, anyone, any foreign national can come to the country with a 9A visa and then they could convert it to 9G visa. But for now, based on the interagency task force for the management of emerging infectious diseases and also to prevent the spread of the virus, they have issued a lot of IATF resolutions, and we follow what is issued by the national task force agencies. Okay, so before the IATF 131 resolution was issued, we endorse foreign nationals who would come to the country even if on a 9A visa. Okay, but after the 131-A was issued by the Interagency Task Force, sometime, actually, this is on August 5, 2021, 9A visa foreign nationals who would come to the country for a short-term visit or even a short-term work, okay, would be processed by DOLE for endorsement for travel ban exemption. But for those who would work here, who would signify that they would be working here and would apply for a 9G visa, they are already required to secure an AEP through their employer, but we will not be endorsing them anymore. And that is also based on the DFA issuance sometime in August also. And that actually took effect in August 16 of 2021. So what they could do, apply for an AEP, and then apply for a 9G visa. And once the 9G visa is approved, that would be forwarded to the Philippine Consulate General's office by the Bureau of Immigration, and then the PCG would stamp the visa. And once they come here, the Bureau of Immigration would be requiring them to appear so that the sticker, I guess that's a sticker visa, would be implemented by the Bureau of Immigration. But actually, it's after the completion of the quarantine protocols. So that's how it goes after the August 16 issuances of the 131-3. That's why all agencies engaged in the travel ban exemption endorsements have already issued their when it comes to travel ban exemptions. So that's how it goes.
All right. So right now, a foreigner that is abroad and have a short stay to go in the Philippines for a short work, like let's say an expert sent by a headquarter to go to the company, he would only need a travel ban exemption, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't need to secure a 9A visa before anything else.
The 9A visa will be issued by the PCG once approved by the DFA. So let's say, for example, we have endorsed the request to DFA and DFA approves the endorsement. Our DFA would send a letter to the Bureau of Immigration stating that this person would be allowed to enter the country, and the 9A visa will be applied in the Philippine Consulate General's office from the country of origin. So let's say, for example, he would be coming from Seoul, Korea. The PCG's Korea would be stamping the 9A visa so that in the airport, he would not have any problems.
In terms of timeline, Ms. Pineda, what can we expect for this process?
I don't have, I cannot say, or I cannot give a particular timeline on this one because it sometimes depend on the availability of our of the signatories or the senior officials. So it may take some time, and the DFA actually is already swamped with a lot of applications for a travel ban endorsement, TB endorsements. And so it would also depend on the DFA on how long or how short they would process the requests.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pineda. I'll ask also Ms. Analyn and Sir Lorenzo, who are also in the practice of processing visa for everyone. So Ms. Analyn, Sir Lorenzo, so I mentioned one case scenario, which is, foreigner abroad getting a new job. But we also have a lot of foreigner that has, equity in a company locally, like 40% equity, and don't have any kind of visa, right? They just own some equity in a local corporation and they're stuck abroad. So what would be the process for them that you would advise?
If they are part of the owners of the company, they can secure the AEP exclusion through Department of Labor. In the Department of Labor and Employment through their Philippine-based employer. And then once they have the AEP exclusion certificate, they can apply for, a work visa to the Bureau of Immigration. And then once they have the approved if the application is approved, they can secure an entry visa from the Philippine Consulate in abroad.
From your experience, how long did it take to process this AEP for this specific case?
Based on the issuance, it takes 21 working days to process.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much. I'll go to the 47A visa holder. So can a 47A2 visa holder as dependent work for a company here in the Philippines? Is there a need to apply for an AEP or a certificate of exemption?
Okay. For the 47A2 visa, a prerequisite of that is proof of AEP application with DOLE. So that is a requirement. And once the 47A2 visa gets issued, he or she could work for that sponsoring company already.
What about foreign national who had a 90 visa in the past and it got expired because of everything that is happening when they were visiting family back home in Europe? So now that they can go back, what would be the process? And a follow-up question would be: is there any easier process for also people from ASEAN? So
Well, thanks to the new memorandum by immigration and other government agencies, expired 9G visa holders can now apply for 9G renewal because immigration also gave a grace period for those expired 9G visas until November 2021. So it depends on when the 9G visa expired. So all 9G expired 9G visa holders have until November 2021 to file for the renewal, even though it is expired. And now, since it could be filed abroad, then they have a chance to have their 9G visas renewed while waiting abroad.
Ms. Pineda, do you want to add something? Yeah.
Yes, I've read a question here. His visa expired in January. I guess this is from Mr. Daniel Moore. And he was the 9G visa expired while he was in Germany. Yes, he is allowed to renew his AEP, so he could renew his 9G visa. He is an AEP holder, right, Mr. Daniel Moore? If and when a 9G visa is already expired and they have to renew AEP, that would be allowed. Even if the foreign national is in the country or out of the country. So conditionally, we would accept the renewal. If out of the country, the fees will be waived because it is of course he cannot renew while he's not around. So once the AEP is renewed, okay, And then he was able to renew his 90 visa and through his foreign employer, through his Philippines-based employer. Once he comes in, we will just require the new 90 visa, a photocopy of that, and then that's it. It's good to go. For foreign nationals who are actually locked, who were in a granular lockdown, we are giving them 30 days to renew their application after the lifting of the quarantine. So let's say, for example, the foreign national is in Cebu, and then he was in a place that was in a ECQ or enhanced community quarantine, and then during the ECQ, his AEP expires. We are giving them 30 calendar days after the lifting of the quarantine to renew their AEP without penalty. But if and when the quarantine has already been lifted and 30 calendar days has lapsed and they were not able to renew it, then a penalty will be applied. So that's how we treat expired AEP, and then they could apply for the 90 visa once AEP is issued.
Thank you, Ms. Pineda, for this information. Do you want to add anything, Sir Lorenzo or Ms. Analyn, before I move to my next question? All good? Okay. I'll go a bit with a wider question. So it's more for the, the married couples, right? Let's talk about that. So for foreigner married to local citizen, local Filipino or Filipina with 13A in process, can you tell us more what's the what would be the process for them? Like, they don't have yet a 13A, so what do they need to do, and also how long will it take? This would be for married couples, and I'll ask, even though if I know that it's very hard if you're not married, but is there any alternatives when you are partners but not married to come in the country and you're stuck abroad? So maybe back to you, Ms. Analyn.
For married to a Philippine citizen, they can travel into the country if they can enter. They will allow to enter the Philippines, provided that they will travel together with his or her Philippine spouse, and then they will provide or give them a balikbayan visa valid for 1 year. And then if they will not traveling together with their Philippine spouse, they need to secure an entry visa or 9A visa from the Philippine Consulate abroad, so that they can enter the country. And then once they here in the Philippines, they can apply for a 13A visa.
Tapos, if you're not married, how will we manage that? There is no permanent solution. Is that right?
Yeah, if there's no, if they are not yet married to a Philippine citizen, then the only way for them to enter is to wait for the travel ban to be lifted, because tourists non-married to a Philippine citizen is not yet allowed to enter the Philippines because we don't have fiancé visa here in the country. Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to be married. Okay,
Yes.
we'll wait for the travel ban lifted, hopefully. Like, Miss Pineda, would you be aware of any, legislation on the way to boost the processes in terms of getting a new visa or the renewal period? And follow-up question, if ever, any insights on the travel ban in general?
Well, based on news reports, Congress has already been reviewing on the modernization of immigration, on the Bureau of Immigration. Now we just have to wait for that to finalize, and hopefully more visa options will be available for various foreign nationals, depending on their circumstances.
All right, thank you so much. Let's keep our finger crossed, I guess, and see how it goes for the next few months. I have one more question. So, can a foreign nationals renew their 47A2 visa from a Philippine consulate from a country of origin right now, or
Right.
what would be the advice? You as an individual abroad, what's the
Mhm.
process with your local
Yeah.
consulate, Filipino
Yeah.
consulate?
Yeah. Right now, the only approved visa that can be applied abroad is the 9G visa. But we are hopeful that this will include 47A2 visas as well. So it's only a matter of time before immigration addresses that too. So but right now only 9G visas could be applied abroad.
Hello, if I may add, sorry.
Hello, yes, who's this?
This is Wilmer from DOLE also.
Okay, yes, sure.
Uh, in addition to what Lorenzo said, the 47A2 is already allowed to be issued in the Philippine Post, but not the 47A2 issued to PEZA registered companies. The 47A2 visa that is allowed now is the one for foreign funded government projects. So if there are projects of the government that are coordinated with other countries, and that particular country will send some workers here in the Philippines, they will be issued a 47A2 visa, specifically for foreign funded government projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would you have
And
yes?
yes,
Hello.
it should be applied at the Department of Justice for the 72.
Which would have
The
requirement.
yes.
And about so yes, the just to summarize, because it seems it's not yet clear for everyone, since I'm receiving other question for the timeline period. So if you want to get issued a new 9G and you are abroad currently, can you give us an estimation so that the audience know what to expect? And then secondly, can you tell us an estimation when someone has already a 9G visa but is in the renewal period? So the first case, what would be the timeline to expect? Like, I don't have any visa, I'm abroad, I need to go to the Philippines, and I want to issue a 9G visa. What's the current practice timeline?
I guess the Bureau of Immigration has a maximum of 28 days as a
To
timeline. But if the alien employment permit is actually required for the 9G visa, we only have 7 working days for the process cycle time from the start of, let's say, from the time that the application was already submitted with the complete documentary requirements. And that's exclusive of the 15-day publication required from the employers. So in total, you have 15 calendar days for the publication and then 7 working days for the AEP. Let's say that would be around a total of 30 calendar days, and then 28 working days, or a total of more than a month. That's, let's say, 45. So that would be a total of how long? 15 plus 45, I guess 60 days within 2 months from the date that the AEP has been approved.
Actually, the timeline will just be the same as
That's for
the
AU. That's
timeline
for AU.
when the foreign national is here, because the AEP will be processed in the same period, 7 working days, and the 9G visa will also be processed within the same working days of the Bureau of Immigration, because it will still undergo the normal process. It will still be uh, approved by the Board of Commissioners. So the timeline for the issuance of both cases of the 9G visa will be the same.
Okay, so 2 months upon arrival. But although all the period, the preparation period when you're home to get to the Philippines and get the exemptions can take much longer, right? Because from our experience, it took longer than this, like 4 to 6 months. So is that because of the travel ban exemption part? That's the one to secure. All right, okay. Yes, I see that my friends from NordCham are asking the audience if the requirements are crystal clear for everyone. Don't hesitate to say yes or no, because it's a tricky, it's a tricky visa. Is hard for everyone, I think, even for experts right here. So it's don't hesitate to ask them to clarify. And thank you so much for all your insights. I do have few other questions, so I'll wait for the feedback of everyone. Maybe Miss Pineda, can I ask you to talk a bit more about the labor market test? Because it was very interesting. Can you tell us?
Okay. The labor market test actually is the conduct of, for the department to be able to determine whether there's a Filipino who is competent, able, and willing to take the position of the foreign national where he is desired. Okay. So the labor market test is conducted through the publication of the application of AEP. If and when within 30 days no Filipino would object to that particular publication, or the application of the foreign national, then it's good to go. The foreign national may work. And it's a series of 20 years only require one publication. But we have encountered, especially in 2019, we were asked by the Congress, particularly the House of the Representatives, and also, of course, the Senate, particularly Senator Villanueva, how many foreign nationals do we have in the Philippines working right now? So we would not be able to present the full details of, or the full statistics of the total number of foreign nationals working here, because the Bureau of Immigration is actually issuing special work permit, and they just renew and renew and renew. And upon recommendation of one of the congressmen, that we have to make sure that it's only the Department of Labor and Employment who would issue the permit for the foreign nationals to work in the country, especially for a longer period of time. We added, and then we were actually asked, is our labor market test effective enough for us to be able to know that there are actually no Filipinos who are competent, willing, and able to get the position. That's why in the latest department order that we issued, there was already a requirement that the employer should post the job vacancy. So this is actually one of the tests also. If and when no Filipino would apply, then good. They just have to certify that no Filipino applied for that position. But if and when there's a Filipino who applied for that position, then they'll just have to certify that this Filipino is not qualified to take the position. So preliminary to the labor market test conducted by the department is the posting of job vacancy of the employer who intends or which intends to hire. There is a position available in my company, anyone could apply, whether Filipino or foreign national. But if no Filipino applies, then it's okay. The foreign national can apply for that position. So that's how the labor market test goes. Just to implement what our constitution states, that we should have the preferential labor would be given to the Filipinos. And for us to be able also to hold back this skilled Filipino workers going abroad. That's why we had this preliminary to the labor market test.
And when it comes for a position that was filled by a foreign national, and then they just want to renew the contract because the person, you know, is already in the company. So is there a requirement to post again the job offer?
No, for the renew for foreign nationals who would renew their AEP, the publication is not anymore required because basically there's no vacancy to be posted. The
Oh, yes.
company would want to hire him, yes.
Ah,
So he will just renew his AEP. But the company should ensure that the AEP would not expire, or it should be it should expiration to have enough time for them to be able to, not to be imposed upon with penalties, and also for the 9G visa valid still at the time of the renewal. So we advise them renew earliest 60 days before the expiration.
I see. Okay, thank you, po. So I have few
Thank
questions
you.
more, dear expert. So for the, you know, someone asked me if the foreign national is qualified to receive a 9G or a 90 or even a 47A2 visa because he is filling all the requirements. Would you have a recommendation on which visa type to prioritize? Oh, Miss Pineda, I cannot hear you. Oh, yes. Hello.
For the visa, you have the 47A2 and then the
9G and 9D. Yes, someone seems
9D.
filling up.
Just a single foreign national?
Yes.
Remember, is that possible for a foreign national to have 3 visas?
Like,
I will
No,
ask the help from
they
my friend,
are
from my colleague.
they are qualified for 3 visas, but they're asking if what to prioritize. I guess it will depend on the incentives of each visa, because each visa has its own incentives, especially for the 47A2 visa from the economic zone. They are exempted from certain immigration certificates when they're going in and out of the country. But the downside of that is it's only valid for 1 year. So regardless of the visa type, it will depend on the employer and the foreign national to decide on what visa they will take. But all of that visa types will require AEP if they will be working here in the country.
I see. I see. Okay, thank you. It's clear. For the what's the process in the case that the foreigner enters with a 9A for a shorter stay, found like the with an exemption that you mentioned, and stay then supposed to stay less than 6 months, but after arrival, let's say there's a need to stay longer, right? So what's the process then to get the 9G visa? Is that all right?
They will get the 9G visa on a regular circumstance since they're already here in the country. But for the N3 of the foreign national, they will undergo the travel ban exemptions route, because they've declared that they will come here for a short term period.
Yes.
Yeah.
But upon arrival, and then they have the travel ban exemption, they stay 6 months. Suppose they want to do 9G now, it's okay, right?
Yes, they can enter. And then once the company decide that his stay will be longer than 6 months, they have to secure the 9G.
Mm. And then for the 9G dependents, we didn't mention it yet, but you have this case where the spouse of they are both foreign nationals. So does the 9G dependent, let's say the wife or the husband of the person who had the contract, has to travel together, or they to enter the Philippines now?
Hello.
Yes, Miss Analyn. Go
Yes,
on.
if they wanted to include their dependents and they wanted to bring their dependents here in the Philippines, they can also include that in the Naturework visa application. They just need to provide the authenticated or apostille marriage contract for the dependent spouse, and then apostilled birth certificate for children below 21 years of age.
I see. And does it happen, that the foreign national got denied in applying an NG visa? And yes, usually what are the reasons out of the fact that it's missing documents?
Well, usually the denial is because of the inconsistencies in the documents and information that the applicants is submitted.
I understand. Yeah, it makes sense. Um, Going back to a few questions, I have a lot, but we have still 15 minutes ahead. Ma'an, just let me know. Be our time keeper. So we still? Oh yes, Miss Pineda, you want to say something?
Yes, can I just clarify on the questions prior to the dependents
Oh yes,
question?
please. Yeah. Let's.
You said the foreign national came here with a 9A visa, and then he or she was required more than 6 months. Is and then he or she wants to change it to apply for 9G visa.
Yes.
Let's just be clear that if a foreign national comes in the country with a 9A visa and then works, let's say for example, he or she was issued an SWP for the short-term duration,
Yes.
and then eventually will apply for a 9G visa. Before they could apply for a 9G visa, they should apply for the alien employment permit, because the immigration would not issue the 9G visa without the AEP issued by the Department of Labor and Employment. Just to clarify,
Mm.
9A visa cannot be converted to 9G visa without the AEP.
Okay.
So they have to apply for the AEP. Yes.
Okay, that's very clear. Thanks. There's a question because I heard this one a lot. Do we still need to downgrade 9G visa if the foreign national is presently abroad but will no longer work with the Philippine employer and change maybe like a job position to another company? How does it work for this kind of transition? Because sometimes yes, Miss Analyn, go
Yes,
on.
the process is that if the contract will be ended, then they have to process the downgrading visa applications at the Bureau of Immigration to to remove the liability of the Philippine-based employer to the foreign national.
Okay. Apparently there's a lot of questions about grandparents. I need to know if it's you referring, dear audience, to grandparents that are foreign nationals or Filipinos. But I guess nationals. So can we get clarification on how we can get grandparents to Philippines to see their grandchildren?
Yes. Unfortunately, for grandparents of foreign nationals, there's currently no visa option for them aside from the 9A visa. But unfortunately, there's a travel ban. Hence, they couldn't travel in the Philippines.
Yeah. Yeah. So for now, the only option is to wait that the travel ban is lifted, basically. Or like,
Yes, unfortunately.
yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you. Um.
If I may add,
Yes, please, sir.
yes, the travel ban exemption, many national government agencies endorse also travel ban exemption depending on their mandate. So if a certain family could find a national government agency that can endorse the request to the Department of Foreign Affairs, they could. But for DOLE, we only endorse TDE requests for those who will be working here in the country.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, that's very tricky sometimes. Kasi you have
Mhm.
to to apply to a specific agency, and then the requirements sometimes are different for the endorsement letters, and then to get it to the DFA. That's true. The one that is also frequent for us and often the case, investor visa. So the 90 visa, and it has expired. Can you tell us more, about investor visa right now? What happens when they get expired? What is it about also? And do they have still an option to get 9A and then 9D or 9G? More insights about the investor visa, please.
For investors visa, they can renew their card even while they're outside the Philippines. So they just need to provide the complete documentary requirements for that.
Oh, they can, right?
Yes.
Okay, so they just need to give some requirements and renew it from abroad. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. How about volunteer workers? Those who come to support local NGOs. We do have a lot of people that are in NGOs and institutions and don't have salary usually.
Yeah. They are not yet covered by the new issuance. So in order for them to apply, they need to secure a travel ban exemption through the any local government agency. So they need to secure an endorsement letter first from any national government agency so that they can secure a travel ban exemption. So they must be in the Philippines when they apply or secure an IG non-commercial visa in the country.
But diba, we have to ask the foreign embassy that is in the Philippines for an endorsement letter first.
The endorsement letter should be coming from the national government unit.
Yes,
Yeah.
of the foreign national.
Yes.
So let's say I'm French and want to be a volunteer in the Philippines. So I need to ask support from my French embassy in the Philippines to get endorsed for a letter of exemption.
The endorsement letter must be coming from the Philippine government national government unit. So it's either in the Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Health, Department of Labor and Employment. So there. So if it is coming from the embassy, no, they won't accept that for travel ban exemption application.
Okay. I suggest that anyway, all those questions that we have here, we can somehow prepare some summary and we'll ask you, dear experts, if that sounds nice for our audience. Since I have 5 minutes left, one last question also, the special retirement visas. Because it was okay, then it was a bit stopped for a while. So can you give us some updates on the retirement visas? Are they allowed to go in the country? Do we issue more?
Yeah, for the retirement visa application, they will allow. The requirements of the PRA is the applicant must be in the country. They can request a travel ban exemption to the Philippine Retirement Authority. And it must be and it will be endorsed to the Department of Tourism and Department of Foreign Affairs for final approval.
Okay.
So, but they need to provide the complete documentary requirements for the SRRV application so that they can request for the travel ban exemption document from the Philippine Retirement Authority.
All right. Okay.
Including the deposit, the required deposit, which is at least $20,000.
Thank you so much. It's clear. In terms of age, what's the youngest age, currently being accepted for this? Has it been reduced lower than 50 years or not?
The required the age requirement for the retirement visa application is at least 50 years old.
For the retirement.
Yes.
Okay, very clear. Tapos, on AEP, if the PRA allows even, I'll wait for the next question. I think we are good to go. maybe back to you, Maan, or do I still have time maybe to take a question or two?
I think you have one. You have time for one more question.
Oh, sige. Thank you po. All right. Hello. The last questions and then yes, I can ask it. Can a travel ban exemption and an AEP be applied at the same time from DOLE?
TB and AEP applied at the same time? No, ma'am.
No, it's not.
The employer should already apply for the AEP and then apply for the 90 visa once issued, and then they could come in without the travel ban exemption. Because DFA would only disapprove it or will deny it.
I see. Okay, it's more clear. And then someone who is looking for the possibility to work from the Philippines as a freelancer for an US online platform. How would it work, if there's no really like employment locally involved? Can you tell us more about these kind of cases, which are really quite common for, all the digital nomads and all that? People who are under, I think so it will mean that they are under tourist visa, right? Is there any case when that the contract of employment is from a foreign company, from outside the Philippines, and then the person is working here in the Philippines? How to legalize that?
The foreign company is outside the country,
Yes,
but
so
he would come here to work. He would come here to work.
let's say the person was here in the Philippines, like working, tapos he lost his job, let's say something like that, and then he found a new job online with a company, but the company is not even in the Philippines, but it's work from home set up. So, you can be under, since he's already in
Is he
the
a foreign national or is he a Filipino?
foreign national, foreign national.
Oh, okay. The foreign national is in the country, but he works for a just like a work from home setup, right? And the employee is outside the country.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he would not since one of the basic requirements for the AEP, the salary should be drawn in the country. That's why he or she will be taxed. But if the foreign national will work for a foreign company which is outside the country, I guess why would he be here if he doesn't have a 90 visa? Or what is,
let's say, he's been here for many years in the past. Tapos his life is in the Philippines, let's say. There's not
but
really...
there should be a visa. He should be a holder of a visa to legally stay in the country.
So, Ms. Pineda, I think the tourist visa can be renewed currently right now.
Yes, ma'am. So
Yes.
if and when he or she has a valid tourist visa and working for a company outside the Philippines, I don't see any problem with that, as long as he has a valid visa.
Okay.
Because we only apply for AEP if and when the employer is based in the Philippines.
All right. So as long as the person is okay with the tourist visa right now and renew it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we're out of time. Thank you very much, dear speakers, Ms. Pineda, Ms. Analyn, Sir Lorenzo. It was really great to hear from you. Very insightful. I thank you, dear audience, for your questions. I tried to ask all of them, but let us know. We'll give you the presentation of the speakers and the contact, and you let us know if you have further questions. We try as much as possible with NordCham and the other chambers to assist you. Thank you, and back to you, man.
Thank you, Maylis, and thank you to all our speakers. May I request just a few seconds so we can take a picture of all the speakers with Maylis?
Yes, sure. It's my favorite picture time. Oh, sige, let's go.
Wait, hold on. Let me put on the spotlight again so that I have you all on the screen. Wait. Okay, wait, hold on. Huh. Minus. Okay. Wait, hold on. Give me a few seconds. Sorry. For the audience, we have all the questions that you sent in. We'll try to send them again to our speakers so that they can help answer them. I hope that they will, and we will send you the replies on those questions. I am missing. Hold on. Okay. I'm missing Miguel. Mix, where are you? Okay, there you go. Okay, I got you all. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, that's it. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Thank you to our speakers and to our partners, to our participants. Thank you for being here, and we really appreciate you attending this event. And thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you po.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone, keep safe.
Oh,
Keep
Thank
safe.
you.
bye.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks.